Hey guys, just want to make a quick video for you for people that are sending me messages about how to start, where to start, to restore handles or to make their own handles, and like kind of what my journey is. Still being pretty new at this. The advice I'd give is not to start like I did. The very first thing I ever made was I went straight to a handle, and it turned out okay, and obviously learned a lot along the way that is going to be necessary for what I'm doing now. But I would probably start much simpler, and that kind of came to me from a local project here. I'm rehafting an axe for somebody, and I realized it's not something I've done really before. I think of maybe one other time with one of my own axes that loosened up, um, but I would advise it as a natural start for somebody. It requires the least amount of tools, and really starts touching on kind of the art of shaping or filing down. Uh, and it requires the least amount of stuff. You can pick up an axe on Craigslist or something similar to this. This is like probably a $15 buy, something super cheap, off of Craigslist or something, or maybe some even gave it to me. But you can see we got a super loose head here. Not super loose, but it's loose enough. You could actually probably still use it and be fine. But something like this will let you kind of get in the game. It's great too. We don't have any metal on the front, so pulling that wedge out. There's lots of videos on how to remove a wedge like cleanly. But this is a nice cheap way to kind of get into things and take a look at how to shape up an eye. I'm not going to get into that per se, but once you pop it off, you can see I'll show you you can kind of see this old line here. This was where it was on hers, and this was a super loose. So it was on here, it had actually a couple bits of metal and stuff. But the great thing is you can see we still had lots of room on the shoulder here to move that on down. Now we'll still whack it, re-wedge it. It's gonna have to be a pretty thick wedge because we lost a little bit of wood here. Still should be okay. But something as simple as just getting a rasp, and really some sandpaper is kind of how you can get into it and how you can start without having to, commit to different things down the road with whether you get angle grinders or you're working with a bandsaw or you're working with a belt sander, or even an orbital sander. You can save yourself a lot of heartache to see if it's something you're going to be interested in long term. But this is just a matter of we're just removing a little bit of material here to get a better seat lower on the shoulder here. So we have more material. It would actually, the front of the eye had a really large gap where it wasn't contacting a lot of wood. There's still a little tiny bit of gap, but not too bad at this point. And we're gonna have a lot better seat and surface on here. And you'll see another thing is what we want is a nice kind of transition where it's kind of compressed on there versus what you see with this old Collins, which is original handle. It kind of has a shelf, and a lot of times you get that bounce on there from use. So we actually want more of a compression fit than anything. But yeah, that's kind of just a quick advice. I wish I'd sort of followed it. So do as I say, not as I did, just to kind of learn some of the finer skills earlier with that. It's just getting an old haft and kind of play around with it and just kind of see what works before you're, spending money on your own wood, on hickory. Lumber prices being what they are, it's better to practice on some of the old stuff and kind of feel your way through it and kind of start to see how you can affect lining up the axe. So if it's tilted one way, how to remove material from different parts that are going to let you kind of re-angle it, left to right, front to back. Starting with just doing a whole handle like I did. Oh man, it was just, it took me forever. I was only doing it part-time a little bit, and the tools I had at the time weren't that great. but all the little things with, keeping it straight, worrying about what shape it is and all that. It was a lot of complexity for starting off new, where, you can learn so much more starting slower. The kind of concept of crawling before you walk and walk before you run kind of thing. I started with a sprint and kind of paid for it with like my own development. But we're all still learning. I mean, I'm still learning. I'm still pretty new at this. But I know the videos that I saw, different makers out there, let me learn more all the time. And I just want to contribute to that as well. So yeah, I hope that helps. Again, just a simple rasp is a really great way, and an old haft that you can find. Sometimes you can find them, loose too, new old stock or something, or even go to a hardware store and buy a cheaper one just to kind of play around with, shaping those up. Getting little scraps of wood from a lumber store, like the walnut is common. I know a lumber store where we used to live had walnut little pieces laying around for scrap that I'd make wedges out of all the time. Yeah, hope that helps. Yeah, let me know if you have questions.